Hello and welcome to Hallelujah Monkeyz for 9/11. Never forget, my name is Dillon Flynn.
My name is Trevor Ickrath. Never forget. Dillon, how many years has it been since the greatest probably disaster of the 21st century? Well, it really started the 21st century, didn't it? As well as, the second stage of my life, like after the end of my childhood.
It's been 16 years, which means that it's not really a relevant anniversary.
How dare you?
I guess 9/11 is old enough to drive, are we? Is that exciting?
Every anniversary of the day where our soil was threatened like never before and will never be again, thanks to the hard work of our greatest president still, George W.H. Bush.
And TSA, our greatest bureaucracy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, happy birthday to the fifth gorilla, 9/11. Happy birthday. To the fifth gorilla.
To the fifth gorilla.
I don't have anything else to say about 9/11, and it would feel weird to be like, so I was at the store the other day. Should we just get into the news?
I already feel weird about the fact that we talked some 9/11. So let's jump into it.
It's all good news now.
Trevor, I hate to do this, but let's go ahead and get some bad news out of the way first.
It's the day for it.
The Super Deluxe Vinyl, we've got an update from store.gorillaz.com. It just says, due to further delay in production, orders containing this product are expected to ship to customers for November 3rd.
Discussion question. Dillon, what if we don't get this thing at all?
Yeah, that's great. Well, here's the thing. We'll get the music.
Are you
in
sure?
some form. I'm sure.
Okay.
Sure. Damon, very recently was talking about how he's so excited.
Yeah, it's not like he's ever talked about, a giant trove of unreleased music that he's such a fan of that, but we don't get to hear it. It's not like there's any kind of precedence for this. What if we don't get it? What if we just don't get these songs? It could happen. I feel like it could happen. Do you feel like it could happen?
I don't think it could happen. If there's another delay, then I'll start seriously considering the possibility. But this would be a really painful refund, Trevor. This is I don't know how many they made, but it's just hundreds of dollars per item.
Yeah, just been spurned by this band in the past, and a lot of people have. The Stylo car.
There are many moving parts, let's not forget.
Yeah.
This is 14 sleeves, 14 pieces of vinyl. I'm sure there are multiple different manufacturers at play here, and they promised us something. They're not able to deliver on the date they promised us, but fingers crossed, November 3rd. Let's just expect it, and not even, let's put that other possibility out of our minds for now, Trevor.
At least they're being a little more transparent.
At least there is a blurb. I still would have preferred a little email, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Jaguar. Let's check in with Jaguar.
Great. What are they up to? What are our boys doing with the old big cat these days?
Well, I guess Sonos was to the Spirit House, as now Jaguar was to a pop-up Gorillaz Garage, a recreation of that little room that they added to the app back when they had that ARG. Do you remember the ARG?
I do remember that ARG, yeah, a little bit. That sounds cool, though. How long do I have to get out there and go see it?
Well, it ended yesterday.
Hallelujah Monkeyz, timely as ever.
Today as we're recording. So theoretically, if you could get to London in the next, it's probably closed by now. It's 8. It's 8 o'clock in London. So we'll just say, too late.
Those time zones keep fucking us on this podcast.
They really do. Do. I'm looking at some pictures of it. It's so weird. There's no information about this other than Jaguar has a tech fest, imagine a CES but just for Jaguar or something. And at this tech fest is a recreation of a Gorillaz Garage thing. And there's a couple of pictures of it. I don't know. Did you see it?
It looks like there's maybe some cool stuff in there, though. Is that is there a recreation of the tricycle from the Rock the House video in there?
Yeah, it looks like it's got the Rock the House tricycle. I feel like that might not be original to this installation. I feel like that showed up somewhere else too.
Huh. And there's also the raft from On Melancholy Hill.
Yeah, the On Melancholy Hill raft is there, and then I guess the little sign outside of the elevator says it's coming up, and it's there, which is cute.
That was from was that from Phase 2 Kong Studios?
Yeah, I believe so.
Gotcha.
So, it seems like, I don't know, who do you think would have seen to this? Does Jamie Hewlett have time to design this little thing, or is he busy with something else?
I feel like Jamie Hewlett doesn't even have time to finish his own videos these days.
So this might have just been somebody at Jaguar had to go dig through old Gorillaz things, and then maybe he saw design documents and signed off on them or something.
Probably something like that. He was probably given a couple things to sort through, and they were like, "Here, take your pick." But I doubt Jamie was involved like to a very granular level.
I feel like between the Spirit House and the Jaguar pop-up Gorillaz Garage, I feel like what they want to do is just rebuild Kong Studios as like a Gorillaz Disneyland park.
Can you imagine? I mean, one, it would be horrible because the smell. It would be horrible. You couldn't go to it. It would be if it were true to life, it would be built on a landfill, and you couldn't go to it because I don't know if you've ever been to like a landfill.
Pump in the smell of a dump and of sulfur.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to it. You couldn't. It would be it would be something Gorillaz would do to spend all the budget for like a phase on an amusement park nobody could end up going to. But I don't know.
This is a band that's not afraid to lose a little money.
No. In the name of pushing their vision forward, definitely not.
This is probably the coolest little blurb of the week, Trevor.
Oh yeah, I just saw this when I opened the news doc, and this is very exciting.
Denholm Hewlett, I believe that's Jamie's eldest son. I think he's got two sons, and Denholm is the older of the two.
Denholm, the eldest.
He's been reliably posting some very beautiful photographs of Gorillaz on stage throughout this phase. I don't know, is this snark? Is this Instagram user who's posting this comment, is he trying to be snarky at Denholm? What's that all about?
The one asking, what's it like being their roadie?
Yeah, that seems a little bit snarky, doesn't it?
If you have like even the tiniest bit of self-awareness, I think you would realize that kind of doesn't sound great. Sounds a little snarky. That's how I would put it.
Maybe it was calculated though, because
Possibly.
maybe what he was trying to do is like make him feel self-conscious enough to give us a little bit of information.
Let's prod him of it and see what comes out.
Right.
And Denholm, sure enough, says, "I'm not the roadie. I'm just photographing the live shows and making a full-length documentary of their world tour." Wait, what?
Say what? What's that last part?
That was dumb. But yeah, no. So he's Denholm Hewlett is apparently making a full-length documentary of the current Humans World Tour. That's very cool.
So apparently the reason that Carrie Levy is out of a job is nepotism. That's apparently
trying to keep it in the family, I guess.
But that's awesome. If true. Like if that happens, that would rule. Sort of a successor to Bananas documenting this. Because now we know they're going to South America. They're going to Chile and Mexico, and I believe Brazil. Dates have either been announced or teased at, and Argentina. So by the end of this phase, Gorillaz will have traced this globe.
Discussion question. What kind of passive-aggressive comment do you think we would need to lob at Denholm to get him to come on the show?
That is a great. Okay, so like maybe we could be like, man, keep trolling Instagram for interesting people to have on the podcast, but just find boring roadies like Denholm Hewlett.
It would probably work.
I'm not a roadie. Let me on the show. I'll tell all their secrets. Here's the question though: Are David and Jamie gonna try to behave better because Jamie's son is pointing a camera at them?
Do you think they were particularly well behaved in Bananas?
No, but
I guess it wasn't Jamie's progeny filming them, was it?
Yeah, it's like are they gonna hide the cocaine, so to speak? Because
is Jamie still gonna be running around with a big inflatable dick?
Yeah, exactly. That's my only fear.
I'm sure when it drops, we'll have to do an entire side-by-side comparison episode.
Okay. Are you ready for the moment of truth, Trevor?
The surprise third news story that Trevor mustn't know about until the moment of truth?
Surprise is maybe a lofty term.
Okay.
We all woke up, us Gorillaz fans, with the notification on our phones, Trevor, that there was some happenings around a surprise New York show on the 14th.
Right.
And it included, like, go explore Noodle's room for more, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you follow that down to the bottom of it, what you end up with is a how well do you know Noodle quiz.
Oh, boy.
And in Hallelujah Monkeyz tradition, I'd like to proctor this quiz on you today. Now, Trevor?
Sure.
Trevor, I'm going to tell you, I did get 100% on this, but one of these was a coin flip for me, and I was very lucky to have answered it correctly, okay?
Yep, time to play Do You Know Noodle?
Okay, here we go. When Noodle left for Japan to learn about her forgotten past, what was the name of the food dish she heard the waiter mention to the chef in Osaka that allowed her to regain all her memories? Was it A, water ham, 2, or B, can't mix them, noodle surprise, C, Osaka pork, or D, Ocean Bacon.
Ocean Bacon.
Yeah, compliments to Cash Brown. I hope he gets like residuals for that question somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 2. What is the name of the cruise ship? Fuck this question, by the way. What is the name of the cruise ship that Noodle can be seen on wearing a cat mask in the beginning of the On Melancholy Hill video? Okay, I'm going to give you these answers and then I'm going to tell you what I did, okay?
Sure.
Without spoiling. Okay. A. H. Marriott. B. R. Hobbs. C. M. Harriet. Or D. Big Old Ship. Now, if you're like me, you realize that this was probably in one shot of that fucking music video, and you certainly didn't memorize the stupid name of this video, right?
No, I didn't. I can't say I did. I think I might have even like skipped it when watching the videos for our episode and just kind of like fibbed my way through it.
Okay, so here's what I did. I thought like a test. You know how to think like a test. You've been through school.
Sure.
2 of these answers are H. Marriott and M. Harriet, which is just a first letter swapped version of each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is R. Hobbs. That seems unlikely.
That's absolutely out.
One of them is Big Old Ship. That doesn't feel
Definitely
Hewlett-y.
not.
So now it's just down to H. Marriott and M. Harriet. So I flipped a coin. I suggest you do the same.
I feel like I'm leaning towards one over the other though.
All right. Okay.
My immediate leaning is towards like the Marriott one, but the Marriott is also like a hotel or something, right?
The Marriott. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna say M. Harriet.
M. Harriet is correct. Congratulations, Trevor. It's all smooth sailing from here. Okay, are you ready?
Hey, I watch Gorillaz videos. I read Rise of the Ogre. I'm good here.
You're good.
This is me in my element.
After Plastic Beach, Noodle opened an unnaturally big pearl shell and released what? Mizzou, a shape-shifting devil that could take human form. Randy, a hairy man with bad teeth from Chicago. Monstar, a space creature with the ability to time travel, or Maru, a confused ghost looking for his home.
Well, as anyone who listened to our episode highlighting Murdoch's Pirate Radio and the Book of Gorillaz series would be able to tell you, the answer to that one is A, the shape-shifting devil, whose name I can't remember.
Weren't the Monstars the name of the bad guys in Space Jam?
Yep. They stole all that ability from our world's greatest basketball players and used them to take over Toonland or something? I don't know.
Noodle's birthday falls on what holiday? Is it Christmas, Boxing Day, Halloween, or Valentine's Day?
Well, if you had listened again to our episode focusing on Murdoch's Pirate Radio and the Book of Gorillaz series, you would remember when Murdoch wishes her a happy birthday, even though she's like dead on Halloween.
On Halloween? Happy Halloween, Noodle. Here we go. When Noodle arrived on the doorsteps of Kong Studios in 1998, I think this is the last question, by the way.
You're fucking kidding me, right? I could like probably answer this like without you even finishing the question.
It's not. I thought it was going to be FedEx Box too. It's not FedEx Box.
Okay.
It's not. Don't worry. What was the first thing she did when the crate was open? Did she scream for her life? Did she play a guitar solo? Did she perform a juggling routine? Or did she punch Russell in the stomach?
If I remember my Roadkill, she played a guitar solo.
You're right, and congratulations, you've officially showed us your stuff. So what this means, Trevor, is that our names are both going to be entered into this drawing for the surprise show, which we won't be able to go to because they'll announce the venue day of.
Somebody doesn't sound very ambitious.
Well, here's what I was thinking.
That would be the best episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz ever. Tell me it wouldn't be.
It would be amazing if we... But how would we get there on the same day it's announced? How would we do it?
A cross-country dash, against all odds.
So expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think we have enough Patreon support to do that.
Not yet.
So here's what I was thinking. You only have to submit your first name, right? So what are the odds that there is a Dillon and there is a Trevor in New York City who listens to this podcast? So if we win, we could give our pass to them on the condition that they give us a full trip report on the show. That's what I was
Sure, yeah. Bizarro, NYC, Dillon and Trevor, come be on the show. What do you think those two guys are like?
I don't know. They're New Yorkers, so they're probably like us, but faster.
Yeah, they're probably walking over here.
Right. Whereas I don't know what we do on the West Coast. Like, I guess we surf everywhere we go. Is that the equivalent? That is the end. That's it. We got a surprise Gorilla show. We got a jet-setting world tour documentary on the way, a pop-up garage, and no super deluxe vinyl in sight, which clears the way.
And I know a ton of shit about Noodle, apparently.
Yeah, you know everything there needs to know, including that. What was it? Was it the H Harriet or M Harriet? I already forgot.
It was the Harriet, the M Harriet.
Okay. The M Harriet. Yeah, who could forget the SSM Harriet, the real fifth gorilla?
Yeah. Does that make the battleship Ringo the seventh one?
That's the seventh gorilla.
There's
the
seventh
two
gorilla.
ships and 4 human beings.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the round table, Trevor?
Sure. Yeah. Let's get things mixed up this week and talk about Gorillazish Mix and Roadkill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watch zombie movies all day. Noodle practices karate and Prune's bonsai, and Russell is schools the local skinhead community.
And I just sit there making pacts with the devil. Hail Satan!
Today we're going to be talking about 2 definite oddities.
Yeah, we are deep into the weeds of like Gorillaz releases now. I've like never felt that more, I think, than when I was listening to Gorillazish Mix.
Yeah, for sure. But these are cool and slept on at the time and still kind of slept on. So maybe hopefully we'll get more eyes or more ears on these things. Although Gorillazish is not the easiest thing to track down, so good luck to you.
Yeah. Let's just high level this real quick though. What we're going to be talking about today are these 2 kind of little almost promotional mixtapes.
Yes.
That the band's producers from Phase 1 and Phase 2 respectively kind of put together to like in the months I guess surrounding the release of those albums.
Yeah, that's right. We have Gorillazish Mix in 2001 and Roadkill the mixtape mixed by Russell Hobbs 2005.
Right. I think it's pretty cool that they throw him a little shout out. But these both kind of function like very differently than each other. And we're going to see that as we talk about them. So
they're definitely companions. They're absolutely
totally
2 of a kind. You know,
totally.
There's no way to not. And in fact, while I was listening to these, what I kept thinking, Trevor, was I would really love if Tone would do one of these for this phase.
Wouldn't that be really neat? What if Damon had done one for Plastic Beach?
That would have been something for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, if Tone did one, that would be really cool for a few reasons. One, you got to love the symmetry of having every time an outside producer does a Gorillaz album, they do one of these. But also, both of these in their own way are kind of approximating DJ sets.
Absolutely.
Twilight Tone actually has pedigree of like he's a club tested and approved Chicago DJ.
Yeah.
So you would have to imagine his version of one of these might even be a little bit more authentic than Dan's and Brian's. So just to be clear, Dan the Automator made Gorillazish Mix, and Brian Burton, a.k.a. DJ Danger Mouse, made Roadkill, and this is kind of their 2 approaches. We're going to start with Dan's, right? Anything else that needs to be said?
I think that's a pretty good overview to begin with, so let's get into Gorillazish Mix.
Okay, let me give a little bit of info about how this was put out and what we know about it, okay?
All right, let's hear it.
There used to be a series of promotional like compilation CDs issued, I believe, like 4 times a year, maybe, or maybe a little bit more often, not quite monthly, called the Cornerstone Player. Now, they were issued from 1999 until 2008 by a company called the Cornerstone Agency, which is still, the agency still exists. The CD thing doesn't anymore because it's 2017. How are you going to be subscribing to get, compilation CDs in this day and age? It wouldn't make
Reading
any sense.
about that kind of stuff while listening to these mixtapes was a real trip.
Yeah, well, the other weird trip was trying to understand exactly what the Cornerstone Agency is. I ultimately figured out that they are a PR group, but like most PR groups, like their website is full of all kinds of weird jargon, like their mission statement, like about us, it just says, we don't create for a particular medium. We build platforms that create relationships between our clients and their customers.
Just corporate. Corporate bullshit.
Thanks. We appreciate it. But this is weird. So this was the 24th edition of the Cornerstone player, Trevor. And actually, it was a 2-disc. Only the second disc was Gorillazish mix. The first disc was just like some rando compilation of Cornerstone player artists or whatever of the era. I don't know. What was your experience going back to Gorillazish mix? You know what I thought it was? I thought it was somehow both like ahead of its time, for its time, and also very dated.
It's very dated. Like, I think that was my reaction to it, like, first and foremost. Well, my first reaction was, okay, I can't find a good copy of this album. Maybe I'll ask Dillon and he has one. And you said, yeah, I found a great rip. And you sent it to me, and it's like a 32 kilobytes mono rip of this album.
Right.
Which is what I had found and decided to try and ask you for a better copy.
Yeah. Well, the transitions at least worked. I found a few where, because it's a DJ set, you know.
Mine did have the right transitions. Some of them were just like really bad, and I thought there must have been some mistake going on.
Well, you know, that speaks to Automator. That speaks to Automator and his particular set of skills. You know what I did, Trevor? I bothered to come up with 3 adjectives to describe both of these things. I don't know if you did, but I did.
I didn't, but let's hear yours.
You want to hear mine? Okay, here are mine. Epitomizing, conservative, and slapdash. Those are my 3 for Gorillazish mix. Epitomizing because I feel like by the end of this thing, you certainly know everything there is to know about, like, Dan the Automator's aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, it's the epitome of his taste and the thing that he does.
This slides right in next to, like, a handsome boy modeling school, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And conservative because he's like, okay, I gotta have 3 New York MCs on here, and he just picks, like, the 3 most obvious. I gotta have, like, one, you know, critical consensus rock album, and he picks the one that you would pick in 2001. You know, like, it just, like, every choice is kind of, like, the safe choice. You know what I mean? And then slapdash because, like you said, some of these transitions are very afterthoughty. They're very afterthoughty.
Mm-hmm.
But let's start it off with a highlight because there's 2 kind of like Apex tape Dan the Automator remix pieces on here, and I think both of them are really clear highlights for the whole thing.
They're surprisingly like sublime little snippets. Yeah, I agree.
They feel more like lost little Gorillaz gems somehow, you know?
Almost, yeah. And there's something just nice about him starting this one off with like the little brief clip of the interview where he like describes what all the characters do as their hobbies.
Yeah, I watch zombie movies all day, etc., etc. And I can't quite tell what he's laying there in the back, but it feels appropriately automatory. It feels
that is the first track from, and I'm so bummed that I blew this joke on like our last episode, I think it was. That's the opening track to an album called The Hour of Bewilderbeast by Badly Drawn Boy.
Oh, Badly Drawn Boy. Oh,
do you think that's a little joke?
You know what? I wouldn't put it past Dan because one thing he is definitely is clever. Like when you watch him in those interviews, he definitely cuts up, you know, right up there with Jamie and Damon.
That's actually a really good album. I liked this intro so much. I liked the piece of music. I like found out what it was, and I got the album it's from, and it ended up being one of my first like indie records.
Oh, interesting.
So kind of, yeah, so this, in a way, Gorillazish mix opened up a door to an entirely new genre that would become incredibly important to me. So
that's funny. The equivalent record for me, Trevor, was The Internal Wrangler by Clinic, and I found that watching MTV2 waiting to watch Clint Eastwood. So Gorillaz also had something to do with me discovering indie rock. Okay.
It's always a journey with these boys.
So let me ask you then, being more familiar with the source material than me, is Automator doing anything to that sample? Because it's always hit or miss whether or not he's just going to play it straight or put his own little touch on it.
He throws that break over it.
Right, okay. So that's the thing. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. He beat matches some drums over it.
Yeah, it's a percussionless piece.
That is his signature move, for sure, by the way.
Pretty much.
His signature move
it's a very Automator break, too.
Yeah, definitely. He follows it up with Cash Money and Marvelous with Ugly People Be Quiet. This is like the first of the 3 old school New York hip-hop selections on this record.
Incredible name for a song.
Ugly People Be Quiet, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I hate Marvelous. I think Marvelous is a shitty rapper. Like, I've always kind of hated Marvelous. Like, for example, the 4th verse of this song, Trevor, which Dan wisely does not include in this mix, he even at one point in the middle of the verse goes, "People, ugly. Ugly people is the name and the theme." Like he literally That's just the work of a man who just wanted to go home. He forgot he'd run out of things to say.
I mean, I don't like this song. I can kind of feel him. Listening to this song makes me want to go home.
It is worth mentioning, though, Trevor, that like in 2001, the hip-hop nostalgia machine was probably not fully up and running, so it was probably a little bit more novel for him to grab something like a Brand Nubian or an EPMD or something like that. Like, oh shit, this old school stuff like that isn't necessarily as common of a reference in 2001 as it would be today, you know?
Right, yeah. I don't know, I just don't like the song that much.
No, it's not a great song. Good beat, pretty good beat. That's
okay,
on Cash
yes.
Money. Cash Money is probably the talent of those two.
Marvelous, Be Quiet.
and then he just beat matches right into Rockin' It by Brand Nubian. That's a classic.
Yeah, it's a decent enough transition.
That's got Grand Poobah, Sadat X, and Lord Jamar. Brand Nubian, seminal East Coast kind of alternative hip hop when that was a newly coined phrase in like the 1990s after De La Soul Is Dead came out or whatever.
Kind of like backpacker shit.
Yeah, backpacker shit. And it's got some good stuff in it. I mean, none of those three ever hit it big solo, although Sadat X, I remember having a really good album around this time that was solo. That was kind of like a blog curiosity. That was probably as far as those gentlemen made it outside of Brand Nubian. But this is a better song than Ugly People Be Quiet, at least.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a semi-classic, right?
Definitely. I mean, you know, Brand Nubian, that's for a certain kind of New York nerd, which I think we can definitely agree is what Dan the Automator is. Brand Nubian must be like, you know, on your Mount Rushmore of hip-hop.
Yeah, so again, very, very Automator. This is shaping up to be very Automator so far.
It's quite autobiographical in a way of his taste, this collection.
And then we go into another clip from the Apex tapes. It's the you pay peanuts, you get Monkeyz. You pay top dollar, you get Gorillaz clip.
This, again, a highlight. Again, totally a highlight.
Yeah.
You know, to the extent that there is a top three on this thing, these two are definitely in it. I love that kind of like Doom-like name-checking samples. You know, the Automator, give me a break. That's great.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. That's some of like the most fun stuff going on here, I think.
But what about the rule of threes? Isn't it weird how we have two of these and then it just kind of abandons that thread for the rest of it?
Yeah, and they're both so front-loaded.
Kind of weird, right?
Like you'd think they would at least return to it somewhere close to the end, but they really don't.
He doesn't. He kind of the only thing is later he does some Handsome Boy modeling school shit that I guess would kind of serve as the third of these, but you know, kind of. And then he beat matches straight into Tomorrow Comes Today, which he sped up a decent amount.
Doesn't sound great in my opinion.
Doesn't sound great. It is a little different though. Did you notice that that little bass leak that ends Tomorrow Comes Today and usually like goes comes back up to tee up New Genius? Instead it just like keeps going down, gets lower and lower.
I gotta be honest with you, and this might surprise you, I was not able to pick up on that subtle difference while listening to a 32 kilobyte per second rip of this album in mono.
Well, I thought that was interesting. Clearly, he was messing with his own stems of the record to do that.
I guess so, yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. I guess that makes this somewhat of a curiosity for the absolute completist Gorillaz fan that there is a slightly different from the album version of Tomorrow Comes Today.
Somebody out there has in their iTunes library Tomorrow Comes Today, parentheses, Gorillazish mix, slightly set up with a spike. Right?
And they're my hero.
Yeah. Tagged Dark Pop, of course. oh my gosh. Wait. Speaking of that, the original copy of this that I downloaded from a file sharing service called SoulSeek.
Oh man, SoulSeek.
I dragged it in my iTunes library. Sure enough, tagged Dark Pop.
Dark Pop. Thanks, SoulSeeker.
Someone's out there just still doing it. Love it.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And SoulSeek's still doing it. Good for SoulSeek.
SoulSeek is like, honestly, like, I cannot believe some of the stuff you can find on there.
Yeah, you can probably find a bunch of things misattributed to Weird Al Yankovic on there.
I'm sure, yeah. Most of it is just Bill Clinton saying, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Oh, gotta love that. Gotta love that late 90s, early 2000s internet humor.
The LimeWire days.
So how deep into a message from J&H production shit did you dig in?
This shit was unbearable for me.
Okay, so this is a bit of a rabbit hole, though.
Okay, take me down.
Have you ever watched that documentary, Shut Up, Little Man?
Nope.
Or how about Winnebago Man?
No.
So both of these are examples of pre-internet viral content where by trading cassette tapes or VHS tapes, cultural paraphernalia oddities spread in the college dorm rooms of America for burnouts to watch and laugh at, right?
Sure.
There's another classic one of who's that old band leader? He's like yelling at his band. He's calling them all fuckers, and anyway, things like that. One of these
Damon
tapes,
Albarn?
Yeah, it was David Albarn, classic big band leader. No, one of these tapes, Trevor, was a message from J&H Productions. It's a cassette tape containing two very long, very crazy messages left on the answer phone of Warner Music by a man who keeps referring to himself as J&H Productions and explaining why they need to sign him immediately and all of the things that he can bring to the table.
Okay.
So we get two snippets of this message on this mixtape. And again, Trevor, I think that this is excellent character development for the specific kind of weed-smoking New York City nerd that Dan the Automator is.
Definitely. But listening to it made these 47 seconds feel like an hour and a half for some reason.
The full message, I didn't find it particularly funny, but I could see, it being 1997 and I'm really stoned and hanging out with people who I think are cool and they're playing it for me and thinking it's funny. And then we transition out of that message, Trevor, into what I believe begins a suite of why is this on this mixtape?
Sure. I agree with you there.
We start with Sizzla, which the track is credited on the liner notes to as Judgment Day. Sizzla, by the way, hardcore Jamaican rapper. And I actually think that this track is the anti-up remix of a song called Heard of Them.
Sure.
And it's not bad. Like, I think it is really interesting, like, how hard DMX ripped off Sizzla.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's something I've heard before, but just hearing this remix of this song, I'm like, man, DMX was, like, really, really doing the whole Sizzla thing.
I really love the beat here, though.
Great beat. Beat.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, really fun.
Really good.
Weird on an Automator mix. Not exactly sure what he's trying to say, including this on here, other than maybe saying, like, wake up after I just played you that boring message from that dude. I would say to our listeners, though, probably hold off on taking a dive into Sizzla's discography unless you don't care about a lot of a rapper's lyrics involving murdering gay men, because that's certainly what Sizzla likes to rap about.
And he gets the Dan the Automator seal of approval.
Thanks, Sizzla. Thanks, Dan.
And then we get another message from J&H Productions.
Thanks for another one of those. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and then we hard pivot into what I think is the sorest thumb here, a 6-minute song by, well, it's a 6-minute radio edit of the Icelandic post-rock band, and I know I'm saying their name wrong, Shigaros.
Yeah, and the song, I believe, if I recall from giving a big shit about this band back in the day, I believe that the title of the song is Febin Gianglar. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Trevor.
Right, but according to Discogs, it's like incorrectly titled Starlfur.
That's a different Shigaros song.
That's a different song on that album. Yeah.
Nobody was paying too close of attention to this thing.
I guess not. I mean, but like, yeah, it's a 6-minute edit of like a 10-minute song. What is it doing here?
What is it doing here? So for the intro, like every 4 bars, you can hear Parrish from EPMD going, "You got to chill," for some reason. Look, Febin Gianglar is a beautiful song. It's definitely it's one of the defining Shigaros songs, absolutely. This is supposed to be like a DJ set, right?
Yeah, so let's just, slip everybody an Ambien and put on like music for airports or something.
And now 6 minutes of this. It's you.
And you know what? I think the best way to experience the glacier-like majestic beauty of a Shigaros track as a 32 kilobyte per second recording radio edit, ripped in mono.
Right, yeah, that low bit rate really does it a lot of favors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look, I get it. I'll get us, bury you. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves that record. I'm sure you did too, Dan. What are you trying to say, putting the big single from it on your mixtape, 2 years after it came out? Like, I'm not sure what he's saying.
Was there a big single from that record?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I believe the video for this was on MTV and et cetera, et cetera. Like, this was the college radio station hit, I guess.
I remember Starflare being in there in Life Aquatic.
That was a thing too. Yeah, I remember
that was a powerful scene. Wes Anderson knows how to soundtrack a film.
Well, does he think he's putting us on to Sigur Rós? Like, does he feel like he's breaking them? Is that what he thinks he's doing?
If he does, this isn't the time or the place, Dan.
No, it's a weird choice, I agree. But then maybe something a little bit more conservative, back to the conservative choices with a Mario C. and Dan the Automator remix of an already Dan the Automator beat, Positive Contact from Deltron 3030.
Right. And now I haven't listened to Deltron in a while, or Positive Contact. How different is this than the album version? Because I didn't notice really anything.
Well, the beat is significantly different. There's like a sax thing in this version that isn't on the album version. Yeah, it's different. There's more instrumentation on the album version that isn't here either. It's not like Through the Looking Glass, but it's definitely different. This is, to me, here's my association with the song. I always get Del saying 20% matter, 30% is energy stuck in my head like at random times, like when I'm like cleaning the kitchen or something.
That's great.
Whenever this song comes up, I'm like, oh, here it comes. He's gonna say it.
Whenever I listen to it, you know our good friend Log S.
Yes, of course.
Unlike his second, I think, Gorillaz remix album, he took this and made it into a mashup like 5/4.
Oh yeah.
So every time in in the chorus he dropped in the little like "She Made Me Kill Myself," and I'm always expecting to hear it when I listen to the song now, but it's never there.
Not as good as the vastly superior Log S version as usual.
Yeah.
I am definitely excited to talk more about Deltron later on this podcast, so it's not really the time or the place, is it? We should really get into
that'll be a lot of fun.
Contact.
Yeah. Till then, we got to chill, I think.
You want to talk about conservative picks? This is EPMD. You got to chill is like, this is New York nerd hip hop 101 for sure. EPMD, aka Eric and Parrish making dollars, legends. This song is their definitive track, or at least the most popular track. We just get the first two verses, which are a good illustration that Parrish is a better rapper than Eric, which is true across their entire catalog.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a classic. What do you want? He just lays a little of it in there, and then he moves right along from it.
Like you said, character building.
Any thoughts on EPMD?
Not really. Sorry.
It's a rite of passage for every white, nerdy, teenager to early 20-year-old to dive back into this late 80s, early 90s stuff. And
was it?
For sure. EPMD, absolutely. Yeah.
I've never listened to an EPMD song.
EPMD, Boogie Down Productions, these are all important pieces of hip-hop history. You should go back and listen to that record. There's some good stuff
I guess so.
Dan the Automator demands it. And he also demands that you remember that Handsome Boy Modeling School was a thing.
Jesus. Can you, when are we going to review those records?
I don't know, because it's Automator and Prince Paul, so that's a De La Soul guy.
And
so really,
what's his name shows up a lot, too, Kid Koala.
Kid Koala also, so I mean...
Del usually pops his head in. There's the two albums. There's So How's Your Girl, and there's White People, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And what this is not a Handsome Boy Modeling School song.
No, it's just a promo.
I think this is original to this mix too, which is why I kind of think of it as maybe the third part that rounds out the two interview segments.
Yeah, I could buy that.
It's a little bit of a disappointment though, because I would have just preferred a third interview segment with a new Automator beat behind it.
Yeah, I definitely would trade that in for this.
So yeah, once again, Handsome Boy Modeling School. It was an Automator Prince Paul collaborative project. They made two albums together. Prince Paul, of course, is closely associated with De La Soul, not necessarily a full-fledged member of De La Soul, but he produced 3 Feet High and Rising and many of their best-known work. And this is a sample from a really corny infomercial they made to promote their first album.
They were all about the corny infomercial aesthetic too. I mean, there's tons of that stuff going on their two albums. Who would they get to do a lot of skits? Father Guido Cerrucci?
Yeah, that dude.
Yeah.
This uses a sample from this one dude in that skit who's this really marble-mouthed announcer who keeps talking about Handsome Boy Modeling School, and you can hear him say stuff like, he goes, You got $60 that's in your pocket. Go to Handsome Boy Modeling School and you won't be sorry for long.
That's literally every song on their albums.
Pretty much.
Like, just take what Dylan just said, put it over Kid Koala scratching, and that's a Handsome Boy Modeling Boy School song.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. I guess we'll get to those eventually. We got it, right?
Yeah, and then we got after this we got 5-4. That one shows up,
which is a remix. It's like a full-fledged Gorillaz remix, Automator remix that doesn't exist anywhere else. So that's the thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it's sped up 2D vocals. It's got the EPMD beat backing it up instead of the regular 5/4 beat.
Oh yeah, it does have that EPMD beat, doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, it's not great, but it is technically a thing that exists on this and nowhere else. So once again, weirdo, make sure to grab the Tomorrow Comes Today version with the alternate outro and this 5/4 Automator remix.
5/4 Gorillazish mix EPMD mashup remix by Dan the Automator. Close parentheses.
Put it on SoulSeek and tag it as Dark Pop.
Do you think this is on here because they thought 5/4 was going to be a single?
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't it?
Gotcha.
Why else, right? Why else?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, the fact that Tomorrow Comes Today is on here also feels telling about when this was being assembled, you know?
Better question, though. Why is this Depeche Mode song on here?
the remix of Only When I Lose Myself, the Automator remix.
That's what closes this one out.
It's like really set up to be the centerpiece of this thing, too. Like, it feels like he's going for a big finish, you know what I mean? It's a bad remix. It's not a good remix, in my opinion, but it is so damn the Automator. Like, it's that chilly New York future jazz aesthetic that he likes, you know?
Okay.
With like little tinkly pianos and like a really deep kind of crate digger drum, you know, break behind it. Like, and you've got Depeche Mode singing over it. So it really does.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I agree.
It really does feel like, oh, this is what Dan brought to that first Gorillaz album. Like, you can hear his sound, the same thing that he did to Tomorrow Comes Today and a lot of songs on that first self-titled. Like, here it is. Here's the thing he does.
So in the end, getting through all this stuff is worth it because it leads you to a fully formed picture of the guy who would, you know, come in and add quite a bit to the first Gorillaz album.
I think in a way it's a better character building exercise for Dan the Automator than any of those Handsome Boy Modeling School records or Deltron or Wanna Buy a Monkey would have been, because it's a
for sure.
He was clearly working quickly, which is when you're going to have all of that kind of subconscious stuff coming out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, pressure is what results in like character development.
Exactly. This was interesting to listen to, not because it's a great mixtape, but because it is an excellent portrait of Dan the Automator.
The self-portrait.
Roadkill the Mixtape, you want to talk about it?
Not quite a portrait, so much as like a good sampling of, I think, what attracted Damon to this guy to begin with.
I totally agree with that. I completely agree with that. Let's give a little bit of background about this thing because it's bizarre, okay?
Sure.
So first of all, Russell's name is misspelled on the cover, which is very interesting.
Yep.
It's spelled Hobbes.
I feel like that is a classic joke in like deep Gorillaz circles that actually know about this thing, like Russell Hobbs' name being misspelled on the Roadkill mixtape.
Yeah, it's like a somehow it seems to be synecdochal of the broader treatment of Russell across the Gorillaz project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you know, you'd be in like a Discord or something and like chatting to somebody, and they would misspell Russell's name wrong, and you'd be like, actually, it has like 2 L's in it, and they'd be like, check the cover for Roadkill the mixtape. It clearly doesn't. Yeah. And they'd be like, what's that?
And you know what this was, Trevor? This was available only at the flagship Kid Robot store. I believe there was only one of them in Soho in New York City. You might have needed to have bought a Gorillaz vinyl figure to get one, or they might have just been handing them out. But the only physical copies of this thing that existed were handed out at Kid Robot stores, and I think there was only one.
Actually, not true. The official Danger Mouse email list also ran a contest, which offered like the first 50 people who replied a copy of the disc.
That's true. That was the other source. Oh, good catch. That's a great catch.
You and me, we're getting the whole story out there between the two of us.
But think about how niche that is. Like, at least Dan the Automator was probably getting paid by that publishing company, to do this. But it's like, here's a thing for Kid Robot, to give away with their vinyl. Will you make a full mixtape and do brand new mashups for it? And Brian's like, look, I'm new. I'm excited to be here. Absolutely, I will.
Do you know what my headcanon theory about this little project is?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so Damon finds this release, right? That he thinks is pretty cool. It's called the Gray Album by this up and coming DJ that a lot of people haven't really heard of, called Danger Mouse, right?
Right.
He's got some legal attention from it because it's mashing up some classic Beatles songs that he totally doesn't have the rights to with some by now classic Jay-Z songs, which he also totally doesn't have the rights to.
Right.
And Damon's like, I kind of want this guy to work on Demon Days, but he's got no chops. I got nothing to go off.
Right.
Except for this mashup mixtape. Why don't I give him a couple, snippets of stuff from the album I'm working on?
Oh.
As I'm going through this, it doesn't make any sense.
But I see.
Why don't I
where
give
you're
him
going.
some snippets from the album I'm working on? Give him a list of collab names. Just see what he's able to throw together.
Sure. I mean, it because of timelines, it wouldn't work, but that is a fascinating, in the movie version,
right?
A story to tell.
Yeah.
Here's another potential headcanon. What if Automator was all geared up to produce the second Gorillaz album, and Damon was like, "Hey, you're my hip hop nerd news source. What should I be listening to?" He's like, "Oh, you should listen to this mashup album called the Gray Album. It's the coolest thing happening in the New York hip hop nerd circles. Give it a listen." And so David did, and he's like, "You're fired."
I believe the Gorillaz fans in Red Bull's alt-right would refer to that as being cucked.
He got cucked. Automator cucked by the Danger Mouse.
Now let's never use that word on this podcast again.
No, until we have the Red Bull CEO on, and then we'll use it. We'll use it liberally then.
Yeah.
I have 3 words. Okay, 3 adjectives. Okay, I have grateful, focused, and crowd pleasing. Those are my 3 words.
What do you mean
grateful,
by tell me about grateful.
because I think that the biggest difference that this illustrates between Brian Burton and Dan the Automator is that Brian is happy to be here. He's excited for the opportunity to make music on this big of a scale. And this mixtape is a perfect illustration of that. He's like, oh shit, I get to do this thing. Whereas Dan the Automator was more like, oh shit, I got to do that thing. You know what I mean?
I feel that. I totally get what you mean. Yeah. And it ends up being more about the project than it ends up being about the dude who's making it.
Exactly. And focused because, he definitely is playing by his own, idea, these rules that each of these tracks has to fit into. You know what I mean?
And it is very crowd pleasing too. He hits some real mashup beats here. Some vocals from one rap song and putting them over another rap beat to stupendous effect. It's just really you can definitely, it feels like he's playing to a crowd, whereas Dan the Automator felt like he was playing more to kind of listeners who wouldn't really be familiar with him.
Yes, exactly. And he also, just in terms of Gorillaz selections, he makes sure to hit the big things, Yeah, he's in it to win it. But overall, this is a much more listenable concoction than Gorillazish. I just want to say that right away.
It's so much fun.
It's really fun. It's really full of little twists and turns and surprises and exciting moments.
You mentioned surprises. When I was listening to this the other day, for the first time in probably more than 10 years, which is crazy. I had no idea what was, I kind of vaguely remembered it. All I really remembered was that he took Passing Me By and put the Tomorrow Comes Today drums under it. But I couldn't remember anything else that happened. And when it started getting more and more mashup-y, I was like, oh, should I look up the track list? And then I decided no, because I wanted to see what he kept throwing at me and being surprised, because it was so much fun.
Really fun.
He and it just gets better and better kind of as it goes on until culminates in one of the last tracks on there. It's just really cool.
He does a much better job building an arc. If we go back to Gorillazish mix real quick, which I know we don't want to, I feel like from Message with J&H Production, just kind of all downhill from there, Yeah,
I mean, you don't see Danger Mouse dropping a 6-minute, essentially an ambient song into the third act of his mixtape.
That Martina Topley Bird moment is the closest thing to that, but it's used very smartly, you know?
Yes, very. It's used to great effect, I think.
Okay. This is all the bedrock we need to get right into it. So let's talk about this version of Kids with Guns that we get at the top.
Which is an interesting way to open the tape, Kids with Guns. It's like a very kind of low-key, muted beginning.
It is, and he uses it as kind of a bed for some dialogue from Easy Rider. I have this memory of this dialogue, and I might just be misremembering it as only being on this mixtape, Trevor, but I have this memory of, because it's a conversation from Easy Rider where they're like, what about freedom, man? And it's like, yeah, you know, that's what it's all about, but don't tell anybody they're not free or they'll get maiming and killing to prove that they are, right?
Yeah.
I for some reason I remembered that being on somebody's PC in the Phase 2 Kong website, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just a half-remembered mistruth or something.
If it is, do you think it was on the website because of its appearance here?
Could be. Yeah, that could, or vice versa, maybe. Wasn't Danger Mouse supposedly like exploring Kong Studios and finding new rooms? Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. He was canonically in the studio.
That's true. Maybe he was delving into somebody's PC and finding that out.
Yeah.
You can really trace how big of a moment it must have been to have Dennis Hopper in that studio just by like how referential everybody who is there is of that moment.
Yeah, I mean his appearances framed the tape.
For sure. Carrie made a big deal of it in Bananas, and now here you have Brian making a big deal of it on Roadkill. This is definitely the one of the defining behind the scenes moments of Demon Days must have been having Dennison to record that.
For sure. And so after we get that, we leap right into the lead single, Feel Good Incorporated.
Which is just served straight up. It's served straight
Pretty
up.
much, yeah. We get the first verse, we get the chorus, then we get De La Soul's verse, and then it kind of transitions into the next one, right? I feel like we don't really need to talk about Feel Good Inc. anymore.
No, except for the only thing I did have like a small emotional moment that registered for me where I was kind of like imagining the song through Brian's ears. Like, you've gone from being this dude with no money who's being sued by the biggest record label in the world to like now you have this huge hit on the radio. Like, how weird that song must be to him to think back on, you know?
You know, it wouldn't be his first time just being on top of the radio for a good while, because I mean, he followed that right up with Crazy, right?
Crazy was right on the heels of it, yeah.
The mid-2000s were a big time for Danger Mouse.
And especially in the UK, Crazy was insane. Like, Crazy broke Beatles records and shit.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we go right into an early highlight with Gorillaz on the Far Side with the Passing Me By, Tomorrow Comes Today mashup.
This works really well.
It works really good. I love the Summer in the City Quincy Jones organ sample from Passing Me By. Like, that goes over that Tomorrow Comes Today beat so well. That that little organ, you know?
Yeah, I feel like they keep it around a little too long once Damon's vocals come in, but initially it sounds really good. And like the other elements of Tomorrow Comes Today, like the piano and stuff coming in behind Booty Brown's verse sounds really great too.
And it is kind of a fun match of themes when they do use Damon's verse, because you know that Booty Brown verse from Passing Me By is like it's unassailably a classic of alternative hip hop.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
And it's very wistful. It's like it's about very different things than Tomorrow Comes Today, but I feel like emotionally it hits a lot of the same beats.
It's got the same kind of nostalgic melancholy to it, I think.
And of course, it also has the unforgettable Booty Brown delivery of, "Oh, how I wish I could hold her hand and give her a hug." That's like such a classic.
In my youth days, I used to score his dash. Yeah.
Could you imagine like the word hug appearing in anybody else's verse in 2017? Like, is Kanye as emasculated enough to pull off talking about giving somebody a hug in a rap song?
Hey, I mean, nobody accused Kanye West of being emasculine more than 50 Cent did, and he says it in his biggest single.
That's true, he does.
Come give me a hug. I love that that's a lyric in the club. Come give me a hug.
It's so good. It's so good. It goes by fast enough you almost miss it, but it's right there.
Almost, yeah.
I guess we'll talk a little bit more about Passing Me By when we inevitably end up talking about Bizarre Ride. I know you have very complicated feelings about Bizarre Ride.
Well, I don't think they're too complicated. I feel like I'm pretty firmly on one side of it, although I am in the minority.
Well, at least you must acknowledge the power of Passing Me By. It's a great song.
Yeah, but it ends with a belch that makes me very, very, very uncomfortable.
That's true. It does end with a burp.
Also, the official version of Passing Me By is not as good as the very rare, obscure one from the unmixed version of the album.
Can't say I've ever heard it, Trev.
Weren't expecting me to drop that deep Far Side trivia on you, were you?
Yeah, that's way outside of my spectrum. I haven't gotten that deep on it.
It's got a little bit of a different sample on it because I think the sample was supposed to be from "Are You Experienced?"
Oh, interesting.
And they weren't able to clear it.
But this is a lovely Reese's peanut butter and chocolate like concoction between
very crowd pleasing.
Gorillaz on the Far Side. Very good, very good. Top three, absolutely top three on the record.
And then Danger Mouse lets that Tomorrow Comes Today break take us right into Trouble Up the Road by Ike Turner.
Yeah, well, it's actually Jackie Brenson's the singer, and then it's, Ike Turner wrote the song, and he's doing all the orchestration and whatnot.
I gotcha. I don't know my shit. But this sounds great. That guitar coming in over the beat, really cool.
Great. Ike Turner was a really good band leader. For all the shit that I give Ike Turner on this show, I am definitely excited for the day when we eventually take a look at that record that everybody loves of his.
The first rock and roll song ever?
Yeah, exactly. Jackie Brenson's really cool, though. His vocal delivery is really fun, and this is a neat little, almost more Automator-y take. Here's a breakbeat that Automator selected from an old song, and some old music that we're putting over it. That's a not necessarily the move that we normally get from Burton, but it's very crowd pleasing.
Yeah, and he follows it up pretty seamlessly with by transitioning into Curls from Mad Villain.
What a great song from a great album
really
that I can't wait to talk about on the show.
Let's try and get something to eat.
My favorite lyric on this song is and will always be, if you want to sip, get a paper water fountain glass. How am I supposed to know where your mouth been last?
Yeah, really good. Just the phrase paper water fountain glass is good.
Yeah, who's ever referred to one of those cones as that? Like, I love, A, that he's talking about one of those things because it's great. And 2, paper water fountain glass is just a great name.
I love MF Doom. Have you been keeping up with the songs he's been releasing this summer?
Yeah, I have. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. I think there's some real gems in there, actually.
I've been waiting till they all come out and to just go through them one by one, but I'm excited for it. I love him.
I'm excited for the first time we finally have a whole episode to talk about MF Doom on the show, because that dude is amazing, and I can't wait to talk about him with you.
Know what one of my dream guests would be? A Doom poster.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
That would be a lot of fun.
You get him to claim he's going to come on. It's clearly not him, and we're awkwardly playing along with it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and then we go, speaking of crowd pleasing. He beat matches straight into a very sped up version of Clint Eastwood here.
Yeah, noticeably.
It does not sound great. It does not sound great.
Not particularly. Does he double up on the cymbals too? I feel like we got 8 crashes instead of 4.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you guys know what's coming.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, drum roll, please.
It's like a very McCartney move,
Yeah. The double Maca.
When McCartney's going to play Hey Jude, you're going to feel it. Here it comes.
Yeah. But Clint Eastwood leads really, really well into this Martina Topley Bird song. That is a sick-ass transition with the cymbals going into it.
This is really lovely. And he is doing some stuff to the song that is not present on the original version, too, the album version. The drums are all different on this. I feel like he might have actually been working with some stems, perhaps. Maybe he got some from Martina or something.
Possibly.
But this is top 3 for me too. I think that this is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's such a good break in the album as well. It almost serves as the same function, I think, as Martina Topley Bird's contribution to All Alone does. Kind of shoots itself into space for a second before we get brought back down.
That's a great point, and it's maybe what Automator was trying to do with that Sigur Rós song, but it's certainly more effective.
Yeah.
I just love that vulnerable voice, and this is a really nice, haunting melody for it to wrap around to. I think her album that she did with Tricky is still probably the defining release from her, but this is from her first solo record, which I should go back to, because I don't remember it very well.
I'm sure we'll talk about it on the show sometime.
I'm sure we will. Martina Topley Bird, if I recall, one of those collaborators who also got a producer credit on Demon Days, for what it's worth.
Right, which you said you think just meant she tracked her own vocals?
That's what I would guess. She probably did her engineering herself remotely from somewhere, would be my guess.
Yeah, something like that. So then after this Topply Bird track, we get 2 back-to-back Gorillaz songs. We got Dare and Oh Green World. Pretty cool transition in between the two, though.
Yeah, I kind of wish he'd gone full in and just done a mashup, you know?
That would have been pretty sick.
The moment where one becomes the other is pretty awesome.
I would have definitely been down for that.
I love Dare and Oh Green World, so I'm not complaining that they're both here. They're
An interesting thought that I had while listening to Oh Green World in this context was that I think in like the universe right next door to ours, Oh Green World could have been a single.
You know, I don't disagree with you. I feel like they probably would have made a few different choices in the mix if they'd been producing it like with that in mind.
Mm-hmm. It almost would have been a good first single, I think.
For sure. I mean, obviously, we live in the correct universe.
Yeah, in a world where there's no feel-good, or if they even just wanted to like set a different vibe for the phase, I think coming in with Oh Green World would have been an interesting move.
I think that's what they were trying to do with Stylo too, to an extent, where like neither of them
Yes.
thought that Stylo was a big hit, but they thought it was the where they wanted to start from. You know,
But Feel-Good, of course.
Feel
How can
Good
you top
Inc,
that? Then we get a great little song here.
Oh yeah, we get that. This I was talking to you when this came up on the mix. Like this. I totally forgot that this even existed. So this is the song is the only one, and it's from a collaboration that Danger Mouse did with rapper Gemini.
Mm-hmm. Ghetto Pop Life.
Ghetto Pop Life. I literally forgot this album existed, Trevor.
You and me both, dude.
It's so easy to remember the narrative of like there was this guy, he came out of nowhere with the Grey album, but that's not true because Ghetto Pop Life was not a giant high profile release, but it was definitely like a widely reviewed and not a super underground release from Danger Mouse and his introduction as a producer.
Yeah, not only did he produce it, but Gemini actually screams his name a lot on it too.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of deals.
I love that though. It's like him shouting Danger Mouse is a great hook.
Yeah,
like, it works
is.
so well.
Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse, yeah. Gemini.
He's got some good lyrics on here too. Like my favorite Gemini lyric on here is, "My vocal presentation is intrude the subliminal, included with vitamins for your psyche plus minerals." There's some good.
That's great. That's that whole album is good, man.
Yeah, Gemini. Where's he? I haven't heard from him in fucking ages. Where is
Gemini,
that guy?
come be on the show.
Come be on the show, right? It definitely sounds like at this stage, Danger Mouse was like really influenced by Dilla and like that Blueprint era Kanye thing of like soul samples,
Totally.
speed 'em up,
Like speed it up till it's like the Chipmunks voice. Absolutely.
You know, which he would definitely very quickly move on from. But this is a fun snapshot of like a moment in his development. You know,
And I love that it's included here because this is Danger Mouse allowing himself to have his own track on this little collaborator showcase.
yeah, definitely. It's very fun. So then comes the actual highlight mashup of the whole record, Trevor. In my
The peak.
opinion.
It is the climax. It is so good.
I'm very excited about it. It is the mashup of Ooh by De La Soul and Dirty Harry by Gorillaz. Redman also appears on that song, so we're definitely through the Gorillaz Ouroboros on this one.
Yeah, I mean he's taking everyone in here.
This is the third Redman collaboration.
Do you think that Redman being here is kind of like, do you think we can read into it a little bit? Maybe Redman was supposed to contribute to Demon Days?
I don't know about that, but
He
I
seemed
wouldn't be
quite
surprised.
taken with the project when he helped them out with Gorillaz on My Mind.
Well, that's
he
true,
seemed
but
like on board.
I wouldn't be surprised though if Redman being here is a reference to like how deep Danger Mouse had dived into the background of Gorillaz to get ready for this job. You know,
I like that too. Like I bet he's playing this for Damon, and Damon's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that."
Yeah. Do you think Redman knows that this exists? There's no way that Redman knows this exists.
No way.
De La Soul did a really good rendition of Ooh at the Demon Days Festival, by the way.
Really?
It was
Cool.
Very crowd pumping.
I do think though, if 2005 Damon had given Redman that call, like, "Hey, you want to be on Demon Days?" Redman would have been like, "Hell yeah, I want to be on Demon Days."
Yeah, I bet he would have done it. Like it's so interesting because as it stands, it more feels like Gorillaz are kind of chasing his coattails. You know, where like doing a song over a beat that's not even original from them, and then they're trying to remix one of his songs. Like it's almost like a misconnection of music, kind of like a Craigslist misconnection.
But man, this mashup is so good. It's so much fun to hear the Dirty Harry beat being used for something other than like an Iraq war song?
Yes, because it's a very fun, bouncy.
It's such a fun, bouncy beat. I almost feel like it's wasted on Dirty Harry.
I know, it would be really cool to hear it in other contexts. Like, I'm super glad that this exists for that reason, because it's like, Ooh is a really fun song.
It's not my fault your ass on the asphalt.
Yes, I love when Poss summarizes De La Soul in that song by saying, most crews are post-current while we're forever. Direct beats that's contagious, loved by all ages. That is De La Soul in a nutshell. But yeah, it's such what a fun and amazing way to like actually. This is the real finale of the thing, and then we got like a little outro after. But like
talk about crowd pleasing.
This the equivalent on Gorillazish mix is the Automator remix of that Depeche Mode song. Look, I don't think it's any big secret that we have a clear favorite between these two producers.
Yeah.
Not just between these two mixtapes.
I know we mentioned him already on the show, but Log S on his most recent Gorillaz mashup album, this almost reminds me of that great little surprise guest he sneaks onto.
On Let Me Out, on LMO.
Same kind of moment, I think.
Yeah, if you haven't gone back and listened to Apocalypse After Party, you should totally do it. If for no other reason, then Logos has promised us that he's going to be releasing a super deluxe vinyl edition with 10 bonus tracks on it if he gets to 1,000 views of Apocalypse After Party. So go check it out on YouTube and listen for that amazing surprise guest on the song LMO, which I still won't spoil.
Definitely not. So then we wrap things up by returning to Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, and over Last Living Souls. I like how he uses Last Living Souls as an outro track, where it's kind of like, it's the grand opening of Demon Days.
And it works super well.
It does. It's almost like, now go listen to the album,
I feel like every good album opener should also work well as a good album closer.
That's a good point. And, recently, Kendrick Lamar said that you can listen to Damn backwards, that he intended the sequencing so that you could listen to it from the last song to the first song and it would tell a different story. I bet you Demon Days would do a similar thing, to be honest.
Sure, totally.
I mean, if it wasn't for those crossfades, maybe if you use the Spotify version without the crossfades, and you can kind of go backwards through it. I bet it would really work.
You could also use your Vinyl Me Please Demon Days vinyl.
You can also use that one, except for you might end up with 2 side C's or whatever the problem was with a lot of those people.
Poor souls.
Those poor Last Living Souls. Hey, this takes us to the end of these 2 mixtapes. I think we learned a lot about these men, their appreciation for their position in the Gorillaz canon, and etc.
And what it says about them, that these were the kind of projects they turned in with, given the task of doing this. What
do you think is the actual state of the relationship between Damon and the people who are no longer associated with the Gorillaz project? Do you think that Damon do you think he just moves on, or is it case by case? Is there bad blood at times, and other times he just he doesn't think of the past anymore, he wants to move on to something new?
I feel like he works with too many people to really hold grudges. If anything bad ever does come up.
That does make sense. sense. We're on the eve of what by Damon's word will be a second The Good, the Bad, and the Queen album. The question is Danger Mouse a member of The Good, the Bad, and the Queen?
Oh man, I always forget he produced that album.
He sure did.
I know a lot of people who will tell you that Danger Mouse ruined that album.
Well, I get where they're coming from. He certainly brings his own Danger Mousey feel to it.
Definitely.
To this very quiet album by British people about British people. So it is definitely a weird match. But does Damon think of Danger Mouse when he goes back to make a new Good, the Bad, and the Queen album, or is that the last thing on his mind? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Hopefully we'll find out.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find out. Hopefully someday we'll have Dan Nakamura on the podcast, and we'll figure out why they took all those snipes at him at Rise of the Ogre too.
Do you think when Danger Mouse was doing some production work for the most recent U2 album, he was sitting there thinking, I kind of got my start by working for a dude who, in an interview with me, once made a point to talk about this guy's leather pants?
It would make me endlessly happy if that popped into his mind.
That's how it goes with Gorillaz. It's all about the journeys, Everything always comes full circle.
You know what else comes full circle? Every episode of Hallelujah Monkeyz, when I tell you to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram, Amino. You can send us an email at hallelujahmonkeys@gmail.com. You can write us a review on iTunes. You can join our Discord server at discord.me/monkeys with a Z, or support the show with a monthly donation on patreon.com/hallelujahmonkeys. Once again, thank you so much to those of you who have signed up to support the show. It means so much to us. We really do appreciate it.
Cheers. So Dylan, should we wrap up? Say goodbye?
I don't know. We could just sit here and keep waxing philosophical about Dan and Danger Mouse, but I guess at a certain point we have to just say that the podcast is over, right?
Yeah, well, so until next week, I've been Trevor Ickgrath.
I've been Dillon Flynn.
And until the next episode, don't get lost in heaven.
Demo.
It's very simple, guys.
Great.
1 through 9. No maybes, no supposes, no fractions. You can't travel in space. You can't go out into space, without, with fractions. What are you going to land on? 1/4, 3/8? What are you going to do when you go from here to Venus or something? That's dialectic physics, okay? Dialectic logic is there's only love and hate. You either love somebody or you hate them. This is the way the fucking world ends. Look at this fucking shit, really.